I'm building this decking onto this ground that's been prepared. This has got like compacted stones on the ground already, and now I'm going to build a deck to cover this whole area. These are hotel rooms where you can see the plywood here, and over there they're two separate hotel rooms that are going to have doors fitted in. So when the balcony's done, the deck, them doors are going to go in, and then you'll be able to walk out from the hotel rooms onto this deck area. It's not so cold today, it's about 0 degrees, so it's not warm, but it's not that cold. This ground has been compacted with stones, and then what I can do is now what I do is put down these slabs, and then the timbers will sit on them, and then I can put like a timber leg coming down onto the slabs to get the level. I put some spray marks down on the ground every 600 millimeters because that's where the timbers are going to be placed. So now I'm just going to put the stones out, and then I can start setting out the timber frames. The way it'll work is it will just be like basically a big rectangle frame in this area. So a big rectangle outer frame, and then the timbers will just run through that frame all the way along every 600 millimeters so that the decking planks can sit on top of that. Fairly straightforward structure. Going to do a little bit of detail on top just to make it look a little bit nicer. I've got these stones set out now. They're not particularly that neat or organised. They're just everywhere where there's going to be a timber coming across, or actually not everywhere, but every other timber is going to sit on them. So now what I'm going to do is put one long timber all the way through the front, and then another long timber all the way through the back edge. So that gives me the front and the back. They'll just sit in place, and then I'll start laying out the timbers all the way through. And then once I've done that, I'll start connecting them, and it'll start to create that rectangular frame. The first thing I've got to do actually though is along the front and along the back, it's around, I think it's around 10 metres, and the timbers I've got are about 5.4 I think they are. So they won't actually reach the whole way as one piece, so I've got to join those. So I've got to lay out two pieces, cut them to length, and then put a piece in the middle to bridge the two, and then put a bunch of screws in that to fix that together, and that'll create like one long timber and go all the way along the back and all the way along the front.
Self-destruction, and I'm back to a place that I left a long time ago. Just give me a sec while I smoke this cigarette. My aching body feels better still. What do you do when you just pick up my guitar and too much on your plate when I need to escape? Everything will be better when I find a way. About you, what I'd say if I ever came back again. Well, I still wonder and I miss you. I know I'll ask you when I see you again, my friend. What do you do when you get the blues? Just pick up my guitar and too much much on your plate when you need to escape. Everything will be better when I find a way. Oh. What do you do when you get pick up a guitar and too much on your plate when you need to escape? Every little thing will be better when I find a way. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I've managed to get all of the frame in position. It's all level. I've got a couple more supports to put in just here, but otherwise it's all stable. Done all the legs down onto the concrete slabs. So that's the majority of the frame done. I need to put 2 more timbers through the middle just to pick up a bit of the detail. There's going to be like a divider in the middle because the planks are going to run along this way, side to side. But in the middle there's going to be a plank running downwards as a divider because this decking is for 2 separate rooms, 2 separate hotel rooms. So the divider is just going to be so you can visually see which half of the deck belongs to which hotel room. So tomorrow I will be back and I will be starting to put on the top planks, the outside frame, and then all of the top planks. Probably going to take me more than 1 day to do that because of all the screws that I need to put in. I mean, actually laying the planks out and cutting them probably wouldn't take more than a day, but because I want to put all the screws in line and there's a lot of screws to go in, it's going to take maybe another 2 days to finish it off. This is now just after 3 o'clock in the afternoon and it's as dark as midnight. So that is something you have to get used to. I mean, coming from the UK, I know that the winter days are short there also. But here it's just that little bit, they're that little bit shorter. It doesn't really become daylight until I think around 9 o'clock at the moment. I think that's about right, around about 9. And then it's dark again by before 3 o'clock. So it's a very short day. But then the other side of that is in the summertime, you have this period where it doesn't get dark. And as dark as it gets is this kind of like twilight light. So it's not like full daytime, but it never gets fully dark. And actually for me, when I moved here, and even now really, the long dark nights don't really bother me so much because it's similar to coming from England. But in the summertime, when you have these periods where you get no darkness, I find it more difficult to deal with, partly because I find it quite hard to sleep and you really have to fight hard to block out all of the light so that you can actually get enough darkness to feel like you can fall asleep. And surprisingly, your body and your mind just doesn't feel as tired, which, I mean, that can be quite good, but sometimes it's to the extreme where it's like 1, 2 a.m. and you just don't feel tired because it's still daylight outside. But anyway, that's a small detail about living in the north of Sweden that's different. It's not really a deal breaker, I don't think, probably for anyone thinking of moving here or anyone that lives here. But it's just an interesting, unusual difference. And then the other thing is it just gets way colder. I mean, today I think it's around 2 degrees, and this is a fairly warm day. Last week there was a couple of days where it got down to like -10, -11, and any time now between October through to the end of January, it can easily get down to like -15, -20. Usually each year there's a period where it drops as low as sort of -25. I think I've seen -30 a couple of times, but generally you have this period where it's between -15 and -25 for a couple of weeks, and that's pretty rough. I don't really know anyone that seems to enjoy that. The only good thing with that is that it keeps snow in a good condition. So if you're into skiing or snowboarding, you can have some pretty good conditions when it's that cold. But the downside is you can't be out there for too long, because even if you're skiing and snowboarding, it just gets so cold. But yeah, they're just a couple of small differences. But I will do a video, maybe go into a bit more detail about my experiences of living in North Sweden, in the north of Sweden, in another video. But for now, that's it for today. I'm going to go home now. I'll be back tomorrow to put these last few supports in, and then I'm going to start setting out the planks and the frame around the edge, and then it'll really start to look like something. I'll be back tomorrow to continue, and but that's it for today.